Technologies Q1 FY22 results conference call hosted by Axis Capital. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Nishit Jalan from Axis Capital. Thank you, and over to you, Nishit.
Thank you, Ali. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Q1 FY22 result conference call of Endurance Technologies. From the management team, we have with us Mr. Anurang Jain, Managing Director, Mr. Ramesh Kehani, Director and COO, Mr. Massimo Venuti, Director and CEO, Endurance Overseas, Mr. Satyajit Ray, Director and Group CFO, and Mr. Raj Mundra, Treasurer and Head Investor Relations. I'll now hand over the call to Mr. Jain for his opening remarks, post which we can have a Q&A session. Over to you, Mr. Jain.
Thanks a lot. Good morning to everybody. I would like to share details of how we have done in the first quarter of the financial year 2021-22. In India, in the first quarter of FY22, as per the CM data, the two-wheeler industry sales grew by 116.9% compared to quarter one of the previous financial year. Scooters grew by 93% and motorcycles grew by 127.3%. The automotive industry in India had a growth of 138.2%. The two-wheeler business, as you all know, is approximately 80% of our total Endurance India standalone business. As per the CM report, the two-wheeler volumes for quarter 1 FY22 were at 3.54 million numbers as compared to 5.46 million numbers in quarter 4 of FY21. This 35% decrease from quarter 4 of FY21 to quarter 1 FY22 two-wheeler volumes was mainly due to the lockdowns which took place in the first quarter of this financial year. Against this two-wheeler volume drop of 35%, Endurance standalone India top line fell by 28%. In our overseas operations, in quarter 1 of this financial year, the EU and UK markets saw an increase of 66.7% in the volume of passenger cars sold, while our European sales top line grew by 104.8% in euro terms. I will now brief you on the financials of the first quarter of FY22. During quarter 1 of this financial year, as compared to previous year's same quarter, our consolidated total net income grew by 177.9% from rupees 6,139.7 million to rupees 17,063.6 million. Consolidated EBITDA grew by 379.8% from rupees 535.8 million to rupees 2,570 million. Consolidated EBITDA margin was at 15.1%. The profit after tax grew by 487.3% from the previous year and was at rupees 965.5 million at 5.7%. This included the extraordinary expense of our Chakan Pune plant voluntary separation scheme of rupees 314.5 million and the income of the Maharashtra PSI scheme incentive of rupees 287.83 million. If we were not to consider the one-time voluntary separation scheme payment of rupees 314.5 million, then the profit after tax would be rupees 1,200.90 million at 7%. With the implementation of the voluntary separation scheme, our company will save rupees 86 million per annum with a payback of slightly less than 4 years. There was no consolidated net debt and the company had a positive cash flow of rupees 4,200 million. During quarter 1, our standalone total income grew by 221.3% from rupees 3,603 million to rupees 11,578 million. Standalone EBITDA grew by 2,270.3% from rupees 67.35 million to rupees 1,596.4 million with an EBITDA margin of 13.8%. Standalone profit after tax grew by 278.3% and was rupees 568 million at 4.9%. This included the extraordinary expense of our Chakan Pune plant voluntary separation scheme of rupees 314.5 million and the income of the Maharashtra PSI scheme incentive of rupees 287.83 million. If we were not to consider the one-time voluntary separation scheme payment of rupees 314.5 million, then the profit after tax would be rupees 803.33 million at 6.9%. We would like to mention that Endurance is focused in both its Indian and European operations for the profitable growth and on growing higher than the industry growth. The detailed financials are available with the stock exchanges and on the Endurance website. I would also like to share certain key points for Q1 of this financial year. 67.8% of consolidated total income, including other income, came from Indian operations, and the balance 32.2% came from our European operations. In India, in this year, rupees 513.8 million of new business has been won from OEMs, which include Hyundai, Tata Motors, Hero MotoCorp, and Mahindra & Mahindra. I would also like to mention that in addition, we have rupees 16,581 million worth of requests for quotes from OEMs, which are being discussed. Our focus is to supply all our four product area products or verticals to all OEMs in next 2 years. I would also like to mention that Endurance is focusing on a more value-add and profitable product mix in its future business, which includes the 200cc plus motorcycle brakes and clutch assemblies with help of our acquisition of Adler and Grimeta in Italy in the year 2020, paper-based clutch assemblies replacing the cork-based clutch assemblies for motorcycles for a better value-add, continuous variable transmissions or automatic clutches for scooters, anti-lock brake systems or ABS for 150cc plus motorcycles with our collaboration with Beijing-based industries, 200cc plus motorcycles, inverted front forks and adjustable rear monoshock absorbers, as well as front forks and shock absorbers for electric two-wheelers. This is with the help of our collaboration partners KTM AG. We are working with KTM to increase supply of both on-road and also start with the off-road motorcycle higher technology, inverted front forks and rear monoshock absorbers, and we have made a 3-year plan for it. We are also focusing on fully finished machine castings as compared to raw castings and semi-finished castings for our 2, 3 and 4-wheeler business. As this brake assembly business is growing with addition of business from Bajaj, TVS, Royal Enfield, Yamaha, Hero MotoCorp and HMSI, we are increasing the disc brake assembly capacity from the existing 285,000 brake assemblies per month, which was actually in March, to 570,000 brake assemblies a month, and discs from 375,000 numbers a month to 675,000 per month by end of this month. A new plant at Waluj has been set up for this increase in volumes. This increase to 570,000 brake assemblies a month includes the 45,000 brake assemblies a month at our Pantnagar plant, where supplies have already started. On 2nd February 2021, we started operations at our new plant at Vallam near Chennai to supply machined aluminum castings for Hyundai, Kia, Royal Enfield, and we are already in the process and we have acquired new business from other OEMs also now. We are also setting up an aluminum cylinder head low pressure die casting plant at Pantnagar, Uttarakhand for 720,000 numbers per annum, and operations will start in next month. We are also happy to inform you that the supply of two-wheeler ABS assemblies will start in the second half of next month, as we are in the final stages of testing and validation. As you may be aware, competition is mainly from Bosch, which controls 85% market share in the Indian ABS motorcycle market, which requires approximately 3.5 million ABS assemblies per annum. This is a large business opportunity for Endurance, as there are very few suppliers and all are foreign companies due to the high technology requirement. On 3rd May 2021, in our Chakan plant in Pune, we announced a voluntary separation scheme for on-road workmen with the aim of improving operational sustainability in plant operations. 177 confirmed workmen opted for the scheme with a one-time payout of rupees 314.5 million. This will lead to an annual saving of rupees 86 million and additional savings in canteen insurance and other costs. We also focused on supply of products for EV 2 and 3 wheelers. We have already started supplies of brake assemblies, suspension and aluminium castings for the electric scooters and 3 wheelers. As you may all know, in FY21, total 238,000 EVs were sold in India, including 144,000 two-wheeler EVs, 88,000 three-wheeler EVs, and 5,900 four-wheeler EVs. Our focus is to supply our EV products to all 2 and 3-wheeler OEMs, both existing and new, including Ola Electric, Ampere, Ultraviolet, Ather, and Hero Electric. Due to increased orders from Bajaj and Yamaha India, we are also increasing our capacity from 240,000 alloy wheels a month to 320,000 alloy wheels a month in our existing Chakan plant near Pune, and the production will start in October 2021. As far as Europe is concerned, in quarter 1 of FY22, we have won 7.13 million euro business from Porsche, Daimler, Case New Holland, and Stellantis. As mentioned in previous investor calls, I would specifically like to point out that in the last 3 years, 120 million euro of business has been won for electric and hybrid cars, which was already started in FY21 and will reach peak volumes in FY24. Therefore, 50% of our existing total Europe business value has already been won by us. Out of this 120 million euro value, 30 million euro business won is for electric cars for Audi and Porsche, and 90 million euro of business won is for hybrid cars for Volkswagen, Daimler, BMW, Fiat Chrysler, which is now Stellantis, and Maserati. As mentioned earlier, in the year 2020, our overseas company, Endurance Overseas SRL, acquired 99% stake of the two-wheeler clutch company Adler SPA and 100% stake of the two-wheeler brake company Grimeca. Both these acquisitions include all know-how, patents, brand and trademarks, which has helped Endurance to enter the 200cc plus motorcycle clutch assemblies and brake assemblies market, where the production of brake assemblies is starting next month, in September 21, and the SOP of clutch assemblies will be more in March, April of 2022. I would also like to point out that Endurance, both in India and Europe, is actively pursuing its focus on gaining access to new technology and focusing on new product, organic and inorganic growth. I would also like to mention that Endurance has also entered two backward integration product areas, which are import substitutes also. First is the aluminium forging axle clamps required for a growing business of inverted front forks. Endurance has entered into a technical collaboration with FGM in Italy, and production will start at our Aurangabad plant from next month onwards. The second product is wire-braided hoses for ABS applications for mid and high-end bikes. Happy to inform you that the supply has started in June 21 from our Aurangabad plant. Both of our projects will help us in our future profitable growth. In the first quarter of this financial year, our aftermarket sales grew by 270% from rupees 169.16 million in the previous year to rupees 626.47 million. Aftermarket business was 5.4% of our net India standalone sales in this first quarter. And as I mentioned in the past, our focus is to reach 10% of India's standalone sales in the next 2 years. We are exporting our aftermarket parts to 30 countries, and we are adding 4 more countries in this year, which will make it 34 countries. We have also started trading in 2 and 3-wheeler tires for both India and exports. In quarter 1 FY22, the export sales for India standalone business increased by 141% from rupees 150 million in quarter 1 FY21 to rupees 361 million in quarter 1 FY22. Our target is to do approximately 2,500 million of sales in this financial year as far as exports are concerned. Since middle of April 21, we saw lockdowns in states, which has affected our sales in India. But our team has taken full measures on controlling fixed costs, variable cost, and raw material cost, with a full focus on a positive cash flow. On the environment front, I would especially like to mention that Endurance is striving to being carbon neutral in its plants by effective use of solar power and wind power, creating carbon sinks by driving tree plantations and thereby creating dense forests, and driving use of natural gas and LPG in place of electric power and furnace oil. We are also focusing on lowering hazardous waste generation and and to achieve zero waste to landfill. At Endurance, it will be a continuous endeavor to grow through organic and inorganic growth with a focus on technology upgradation, quality improvement, cost, and environmental health and safety. We will do our best to fulfill all our stakeholder expectations by following our 5 values of customer centricity, integrity, transparency, teamwork, and innovation. With these opening remarks, I would like to invite questions from all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their touchtone phone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Ronak Sarda from Systematic Shares and Stock. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for the opportunity. Sir, first few questions on the order win side in the India business. The rubber hoses business which you mentioned had started in June. Will this purely be for captive usage, or are we supplying it directly to OEMs? And along with that, can you also explain us how the ABS production will ramp up, let's say over the next 6 to 9 months?
Yes, sir. So as far as the wire braid hoses are concerned, we started in June 21. Our supplies are to OEMs. Now, definitely these wire braid hoses are being used even for other suppliers like Bosch, you know. Our orders are to Bajaj Auto at present, and in future will be to other OEMs. But it can be used even for our competition, so we are fine with that, you know.
Sure.
So that is the first part. And the second part for the ABS sales, of course, we'll be starting next month with around maybe 2,000 and going slowly up to 20,000 a month by, I think, March, April of 22. And as you know, we have a capacity of 400,000 which is built up. And of course, we will like to ramp up as fast as possible. But like I mentioned earlier, we have to focus on quality also, and by way of better process controls in our plants. It's a completely new product, very high-tech product. So we'd like to go step by step, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, and then 20,000, you know. So that's the way we are planning it. And so that's the plan.
Sure. And the kind of orders we have for ABS, when do you see us reaching full capacity of 400,000? I mean, will it be by end FY23 or?
Yes. I think our target is end of FY23. That's our target.
Sure. But we have visibility of the orders in hand.
Yes. We are in touch with a lot of people.
Sure.
See, the market is 3.5 million.
Exactly.
The price is cheaper. The technology is matched with Bosch, so I don't see any issue there. You know.
Sure, sir. Right. And other question for Massimo. I mean, the Europe business has, outperformed the industry growth in a fairly significant manner. So what has driven that, and should we expect this to continue for the entire financial year 22 as well, especially in the scenario where semiconductor issues are now prevalent among Europe OEMs as well?
Massimo?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So, yes, if we have to compare the figures of the first quarter compared to the 2020, is not so useful because for sure we had last year the lockdown. But the important thing is that if we compare the first quarter 2024, 2022 with the 2019, before the COVID situation, we lost more or less 21%. And all the car makers suffered in an important way compared to the previous COVID situation. Let me say, probably the France car maker, and speaking about Lancia and Renault, they had a very important reduction compared to the German competitor. But at the end of the day, the problem is that also in July, we are seeing a reduction of volume not only compared to 2019 but also compared to 2020. And this is due for sure to the semiconductor situation. And let me say, the COVID continues to be a problem in a lot of countries in Europe, but our expectation is to reach more or less a stable situation starting from October. This is the feeling that we are receiving in this moment from our customer, and also speaking with the dealer in the European market. In the last 6 months, there was an important reduction of stock, and so it means that now in some way we have to increase again the stock to the dealer, and we have to increase the production. If you analyze the production of the German manufacturers in the last 3 months in the European market, they reduced 200,000 cars the production compared to the previous year. And this is a clear signal that there was an important reduction into the market, and not only analyzing the registration, because if you analyze the registration of this quarter, Endurance did 100% better compared to the market. We closed with an increase of volume compared to the previous year of 104.8%, and the market grew 66.7%. But this is due only to the reduction of stocks and increase of stocks.
Sure. So if we compare our top line growth to, let's say, how the production has been, have we still outperformed the industry for the first quarter?
Absolutely, yes. More or less, from my point of view, 15%. But this is an estimation because, as you know, we received the information regarding the reduction of stock at the end of the financial year. And also the production is more or less information that we can receive per quarter. And in this moment, we haven't info from a lot of countries, for example, UK, for example, France. We have only the information regarding the production of the German manufacturer. I can tell you that there was a reduction of 200,000 cars.
Got it. Thanks a lot for that. And Anurag, just a clarification. What was the export revenue for the quarter? And the target was 250 crores, right? You mentioned for FY20.
So for the, I think exports was, I'll just tell you, it was, I think it was 361 million. Okay. 36.1 crores.
And we are targeting 250 crores for the full year.
Yes.
Sure. And this will be driven by?
It is, it includes customers like, Getrag, aftermarket is included, KTM exports, shock absorbers, So these are a few of them.
Great. Thanks a lot and all the best. I'll come back in the queue.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ashutosh Tiwari from Equirus Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir. On the aftermarket, we did 63 crores in this quarter versus 119 crores because of COVID impact. But it's from July, I think we're reaching those levels of fourth quarter.
From July, yeah. So we are very confident that we should reach the level of fourth quarter. We are quite confident, barring a few states like in down south, Kerala is the issue. Still there are rising cases. But I don't think the sale is that significant in Kerala. But things are definitely improving, and our target is to reach the quarter four sales in the aftermarket. But only there is one rider here that what happens is that the month of March always sees a very high sale. So of course our target is of course quarter four. To answer your question, the target is to reach, because we have to make up a lot from quarter one, in the next 3 quarters. So yes. So as a thought, our target is the quarter four aftermarket sales.
And secondly, on this ABS side, you said that 2,000 per month will start from next year, gradually ramping up. What would be roughly realizations over there per piece basically?
See, I cannot tell you because then you know the price, which I cannot tell you. So I cannot tell you the realization, but it's a high value add item. It's a high value add item.
Okay. And lastly, if I look at subsidiary numbers, the other expenses jumped quite sharply on a quarter-on-quarter basis if I do consolidate and standalone. So what is the reason behind that? So it was around 127 crores in the previous quarter, now 155 crores in Q1.
Sorry, which subsidiary? I didn't get the question.
if I do consolidated standalone,
Yes.
and I look at other expenses, it was around 155 crores in this quarter versus 127 crores in the previous quarter, while sales in subsidiary kind of remained flat Q on Q. So what's the reason behind that?
You are talking about the overseas now?
Yeah. Consolidated minus standalone.
What I can say is that India was more affected by the lockdowns, with a 35% decrease in volumes, 28% increase in our top line. And so ultimately it was the business which we got. If you're talking the top line figures,
No, I'm talking about other expenses in subsidiary.
Okay. So I request Mr. Ray to answer that.
Massimo, you're there on the line?
Yes, I can answer immediately. No problem.
Yeah. The question is the change between material cost percentage and other expenses between quarter 4 and quarter 1.
No problem. I understood, Satyajit. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So the answer is very simple. It's only a question of mix, because if you analyze the turnover of this quarter, the first quarter 2021-22, the total turnover is 62.3, and in the fourth quarter of 2019-2020, the total turnover was 61.4. Okay, and so an increase of 1.3%. If you analyze the cost of material, we have a reduction compared to the previous quarter only due to the mix, because we produce more upper cylinder head of Volkswagen, where we have a lot of components that we assemble. In fact, you see the compensation in the line other expenses. You can see that there is 17.5 million compared to 14.4 million of the previous quarter. And it's due only to a different mix of production.
And if I may ask, what was the change in realization on a quarter-on-quarter basis basically? I mean, because of the aluminum price increase?
If we speak about aluminium, if I consider there is a 0.17 euro per kilo. The very important impact is compared to the previous financial year, because even if we close with 18.2% in terms of EBITDA in this quarter, if I do the same analysis with the price of aluminium of the previous financial year, the EBITDA is 19%. 0.8% is due to the increase of raw material in our price.
0.8% you said is because of the increase in the material cost.
Sorry?
No, I didn't get you. What you said in terms of quarter-on-quarter, what is the inflation due to material?
Yes, if I consider the quarter 4 compared to the quarter 1, there was 0.15 euro of increase of material. If I consider the first quarter 2021-22 compared to the first quarter 2020-21, the difference is 0.4 and has an impact in our EBITDA of 0.8%. We closed with 18.2%, should have been 19%. And so it is higher compared to the previous financial year, where we closed with 18.5%.
Okay, got it. Thank you. That's all from my side.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Vimal Gohil from Union Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. So just two data points. I guess you gave those data points in the call. I probably missed it. One is you spoke about some new orders from the electric two-wheeler, the new age electric two-wheeler OEMs in India. And the second one is on the European car production for Q1 FY22. And what is the outlook for overall FY22 in terms of the car production for Europe?
No, okay. So as far as the EVs are concerned, as you know, we have already started with Bajaj Auto, and as well as we have started for the Green Group for the three-wheeler EV brake systems, And I can only tell you this much, that we are engaged with all the names which I took. It is Ola, it is Ather, it is Ampere, Ultraviolet, Hero Electric, and I also said we have also got a business from Aptiv, which makes battery packs for Tata Motors and now with Peugeot. So we are very, very actively involved for the suspension and brakes and castings, with all the players. And of course, as you know, the OEMs are also working. I don't think they're going to lose their SOB. They'll do their best to see they don't lose it to startups, the new startups. So we are engaged with OEMs as well as the new companies.
Right. Okay. Sir, one related question here would be, sir, in the present form of your product, the products that you have, in the present form, if you could just broadly state what portion of your products would be completely ICE dependent and how much would be engine agnostic?
So the only product which is ICE dependent is the clutch. CVT for scooters we have not started. We will start, and we are working with both Hero MotoCorp and HMSI. So the product which will be totally dependent on IC engine would be the clutch for both, I would say, motorcycles and three-wheelers. So our clutch business, which is approximately 5% of our consolidated business, or 7% of our India business, is basically 80%, I think, approximately for motorcycles and 20% for three-wheelers, approximately. So unless these motorcycles and three-wheelers become 100% electric, we won't lose this whole 5% business. I don't see motorcycles happening that fast because of the higher speed levels, higher performance criteria. But scooters and three-wheelers, of course, as you can see, already the sales are increasing for scooters and three-wheelers. So that, of course, will be the rider. But to let you know, scooters we've not even started for CVT, so that doesn't hit us.
So, sir, what about castings? So would they be very relevant in EVs, especially EV scooters, etc.?
Yeah, sure. So basically, what is happening is, firstly, look, there's no issue on the content per vehicle when it comes to the aluminum content in kg. Now, what is happening is the type of castings are changing. So if I had for an IC engine, cylinder head, cylinder blocks, crankcases, and covers, now you have battery housings, which are upper and lower. You have case transmissions left and right. You have various types of plates, and so there are many types of castings, which are there, which are not used today for IC. So basically, the shape, sizes, the type of casting is changing, but the content is not changing. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So the assumption is, the outlook is that you'll be able to sort of safeguard your casting business.
Yes, and like I mentioned in the past, casting business has so many opportunities. And there are very few players with capabilities.
Right. So you will be able to engage with these new age startups as well as existing OEMs for their electric vehicle ambitions.
Yes, absolutely. Because we have the process.
Aluminum castings, right?
Sorry, yeah, we are talking about aluminum castings.
Yeah, so most of them will be looking for aluminum casting because of lightweighting, etc.
Absolutely.
So you think you are well prepared for that?
Yeah, absolutely. We are fully well prepared. In fact, we are getting into structural aluminum castings for two-wheelers also. So these are new parts we were not doing, so far.
Got it. Fair enough. And sir, last question on the European car production. I missed that number. Sorry. Car production for the quarter, and what is the outlook for FY22? Europe.
Okay. So Massimo.
Okay. Yes. So first, it's very difficult to predict the future, but I can tell you one thing. We did an exercise 1 month ago in order to prepare the budget of the company, and we consider the actual January-June 2021 plus the actual July-December 2020. So in order to have the total financial year. And in this case, we are hypothesizing to close with 11.8% of increase of volume compared to the previous financial year. But this is the best estimate, and let me say, this is also optimistic if we consider that in July, as I told you before, we had a reduction of more or less 25% compared to the previous year in our volume. And this is in each country, in Spain, in France, Italy closed with minus 19%, it was the best. Germany closed with minus 25%, France with minus 35.4%. Spain minus 29%. And so, from my point of view, it's absolutely optimistic to say that we can increase the total volume for this financial year of 10%, 11% compared to the previous financial year.
Fair enough, sir. Got it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All the very best, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Sonal Gupta from L&T Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, good morning, and thanks for taking my question. So just continuing with the question on castings, like you said, cylinder head, cylinder block, etc., and you're supplying, I guess, fully machined castings. So these are very high precision castings, and the content, therefore, and the value add is, I would think, fairly high. Versus that, if you were to get into EV structural castings, wouldn't the value add be much lower? I'm just trying to understand.
I don't believe so. Because I would say the EV castings are as complicated. They are as complicated. We'll have similar machining centers with the fixture changes. What we will be doing, So in fact, what I've been told is like battery casings and transmissions are more complicated than the existing. Is what I'm told.
And the you talked about Aptiv also on the battery casing side. So that's also on the castings business, right?
Yes. So they are housings. Aptiv. So they are housings for the battery pack.
Right. And just at the broader level, I mean, given the acceleration in, the government clearly showing its intention to accelerate this EV transition, and if we assume that, I know you are sort of growing ahead of the industry given your content and the order wins, but if the industry volumes, say on the ICE side, don't really grow beyond FY23 or something, then do you still see growth for yourself? Just trying to understand.
Yeah. See, the growth will come for us from a few, points which we're taking into account. One is, we are not supplying all our core products to all the OEMs. We are only supplying today to Bajaj, RE, and HMSI, all the core product areas. Plus, we have to supply to all the others, all the core products. Plus, we are also have to, barring Bajaj and RE, where we were high SOB, we have to increase our share of business, also. Secondly, what is happening is the product mix, which I mentioned in my opening remarks, is changing. The fastest growth I see is in brake segment. Brakes is going to have, the CBS for all OEMs. Like I mentioned, we are going to supply to each and every OEM from which we have good orders. We are setting up a second plant starting in September. So the question is CBS. Then we have the ABS. We have the inverted front forks. We have got a new order from HMSI. Apart from Bajaj and KTM business, increasing. Going into paper-based clutch assemblies. Adding CVT for scooters, which is zero today. Going into fully machined castings. Adding a lot of new four-wheeler business like Hyundai and Kia. We have taken 250 crores of business, mainly fully machined. And this business is growing. We are adding even business of I will not give the names, but non-automotive applications, which we had advanced talks of getting orders for aluminium casting business, which will be mainly done in our plant in Chennai. So we are looking at a lot of new possibilities which are going to definitely take place for our existing core products. Only, of course, concern is if 80% motorcycle, like our clutch business is 80% is for motorcycles. Now, whenever that whole 80% becomes electric, which I don't believe so, because of the high performance criteria and the costs, someday it may happen, I don't know. Nobody can predict the future. I don't see any kind of risk for our business, whether it's with existing OEMs or it's with the new startups with whom we are fully engaged. And they fully recognize our strengths on technology, on pricing, on quality, and our ability to introduce the products first time right. So they know we are already a leader in our product verticals in the Indian auto component industry. They are fully aware of it. And that's why they are all engaging with us. Though we were a bit late in the day, earlier we only want to deal with OEMs, as you know. But now we are fully engaged. Our marketing is fully engaged.
Right. But just on this, again, from an EV perspective, I mean, even on the brake side, I mean, wouldn't you have to go to regenerative braking when you go to EVs? And therefore, is your current, like, sort of brake type really valid for EVs?
The types are similar. And I'll tell you, there's one customer looking at even an ABS option. I'll just tell you that also. But I've not heard of regenerative brakes so far from any of the 2 or 3 wheeler OEMs so far.
Okay, but are we looking at that as building a capability on that side?
See, once that opportunity comes, we will get that technology. That's for sure.
Right. Okay.
We want to have a line of sight on that, and whether the Indian consumer is willing to spend that kind of money on a 2-wheeler. With already so many things being added up, on a 2-wheeler.
Right. I mean, like, because longer term, I would think that, I mean, you would, because that range is the ultimate issue, and the size of the battery.
So, what happens, I just like to tell you, we are very closely engaged with our OEMs. So today, whatever product upgradations are happening, they are happening with a line of sight which they give us. And they are the best people to tell you how we are going, because we are working on many other new products, upgradations. I cannot talk about it, which you will see in future. So we are always ahead by knowing OEMs tell us in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years what they expect, and then accordingly we get ready for the same.
Right. No, sir, I mean, like, I mean, just a point, I don't want to sort of discuss this, but just like, I mean, like, there is clearly industry is going through a disruptive phase, and the existing incumbents could sort of fall behind, right, in terms of their technology roadmap or their speed of inflection and shift that they expect. So, and you could have new players sort of coming in. So just relying on the existing OEMs may not really work. Right?
So that's why I said we are engaged with all the new, I would say, EV players who matter in the 2 and 3 wheeler space, for sure. 4 wheeler yet has not really picked up. You only see the Tata, I think, Nexon, I think, and you have the MG Motors. They are mainly, I think, more into EV. Otherwise, there are hardly any sales, of EVs for 4 wheelers. But we are totally, except for Aptiv, we are engaged for the 4 wheeler battery packs. We are engaged with each and every new player who matters.
Right. Great.
Like I said, look, they recognize our strengths in our product verticals, So I'm very confident that we will get new business from them also.
Sure, sir. Sure. Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Nitin Arora from Axis Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Thank you for taking my question. Sir, you talked about the EV part, whether it's the OEMs or the startup, and you stated how much EV sold in India in 2-wheelers, the numbers. In aluminium casting, even the new startup which has set up the plant and the production started and the vendors are known, aluminium casting vendors are different. I mean, the selection has been that different players have been already been selected for, let's say, the new startup when took a name like Ola. And they are doing pretty good. And there are other aluminium casting players who are doing for other players like Hero Electric and Ultraviolet, Revolt. What is the reason still not breakthrough is being done in any of the players, whether it's an OEM or a startup? What will change, in your view, where a new startup like him or an OEM would change his existing suppliers and say, look, let me buy from Endurance? So if you can throw some light, it will be really helpful, sir. Thank you.
See what I've seen is that the technology and price always gets you into a business, and then it's the quality sustenance on customer complaints and warranties. And as I've always said, quality is the highest vendor rating for any of the customers. So I think one of our biggest strengths because of our structure, because of our whole cost structure, is and because of our purchasing power. We have our own Endurance Vendor Association. So I think price will be a very key factor to get business. So I believe being cost competitive and having the technology will be a big factor to getting new business, even with the new players. And I'm very confident, actually, of being able to get this new business.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Pramod Amte from InCred Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, sir. This is with regard to the aluminum casting. In the annual report, you have talked about expanding into non-auto and tractor. What is going to drive this, sir? In the sense, are there any regulatory changes which are happening, or are these the import substitutions you are trying? Why is these segments looking for aluminum castings?
No. See, what has happened is that what we call this segment is, adjacencies, which are non-automotive applications. So these are, I would say, new requirements. I think this Make in India drive is basically helping many of the players, foreign players also coming into India and their products have aluminum castings, fortunately, So that is why what we call adjacency. Tractors is not a, adjacency. It's just a new business for us. We were not into tractors with Mahindra and Mahindra, and we have won this very good business with them. We are very closely interacting with them also for the automotive business. But I will not call tractors as an adjacency. I don't know whether it's taken as a part of automotive or not. But if it's not taken as part of automotive, then I would say, okay, tractor is an adjacency. But I think these are new opportunities coming because of, the Make in India focus, which our Prime Minister has brought in, I think. And there are many new plants which are coming in. And we are getting, and we are really engaging with them for large orders. So this will also be, I would say, in castings, the adjacency business will be quite attractive for us in future.
And second one is with regard to the ABS opportunity.
Yes.
Looking at the monopoly of one player there, and might be the technology and the offerings which they do. What is the, other than the technology type which you made, what is the extent of the attraction you offer on the price versus the leader? One. And second, how do you achieve those costs to reach those price difference between the leader?
One is that to be able to expand business, for any new player, he has to be cheaper. Okay, so I believe in a 3.5 million market where we are only setting up a capacity of 400,000. We have a long way to go.
Right.
So price, I'm very confident because of our cost structure in the plants. Our plants, as you know, we do all outsourcing of non-critical operations. We have a very strong, I would say, endurance vendor association, like I said, with a back-to-back pricing with 90% of the suppliers. So I think our purchasing strengths and understanding with our suppliers, our cost structure in the plants, which are not only single product, many of them we are focusing towards multi-product to bring down the break-even points. Fortunately, we have the volumes to, be able to lower our break-even points. We have done a lot of consolidation of plants. So cost-wise, I would say a lot of initiatives have been taken on outsourcing, on better purchasing, on consolidating plants. We just heard a voluntary separation scheme we did for basically long-term better margins, So I think we have continuously worked, especially I would say in the last 10 to 11 years, to make our cost structure very lean so that we can offer better prices to our customer. Because price will be a major driving factor, technology and price. And price, I would say, number one, So, was that your question? Mainly how...
Yeah. No, I was specifically asking for ABS. What's the price difference you will start with, and will it merge gradually as you get a confidence?
I can only tell you we'll be cheaper. I cannot tell you, I can't get into the pricing and the percentages. It's not correct to be doing this, but we will be cheaper. So, when you have the technology and you are cheaper, like I said, our major focus now will be on quality. Better process controls, inspection systems in our plant, so that we can offer better and more consistent quality. So we have no customer complaints and warranties from the field. I would say, if you ask me, my concern, not concern, our focus would be more that. I'm not worried about the business. Now that we have achieved, as far as the clearances, which has taken us 3 years, I told you it's been a stressful journey of 3 years. It's not easy to match the Bosch standards, But, so now I would say our focus would be on quality, more on quality.
Thanks and all the best.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Arvind Sharma from Citi. Please go ahead.
Hello, good morning, sir, and thank you for taking my question. Sir, first question on the domestic business. how much do you think was the operating deleverage impact on first quarter? Just trying to understand a steady state run rate for your domestic business. Now, I do understand there is near-term uncertainty because of COVID, but still, how much do you think specifically in the first quarter of FY22 would have been the impact of production dislocation?
No, you're talking about domestic. So I said we lost 28% of top line sales compared to quarter four. So is your question that?
Yes, sir. The 28% essentially was the quarter-on-quarter impact because of COVID. Is that right?
Quarter one.
Right.
You know, 28% was the loss of sales, you know. And see here, I would say the challenge what happens, you know, Arvind, is that the main thing is we have 18 plants. And if any of the plants, say for example, a customer, you know, A, who is we are depending largely on that customer. And if his quarter one has been worse hit, as you know, it was mainly Bajaj and TVS because of the exports which did very well in the month of May, which is practically 50% down, you know. So 50% down compared to quarter four, I would say, in terms of volumes. So what happens is when there's a plant which is specific to those customers which are depending on domestic and are not able to, you know, they are not manufacturing because the dealers are closed. That the challenge comes for us there. So you can imagine, so you know, so when you talk about a 28% hit, we have to look at it from each of the 18 plants, how they've been hit, you know. So the challenge comes there. That's why our focus is to make our plants multi.
Hello.
Hello.
It seems the line from Mr. Jain got disconnected. Please allow me a moment. I'll reconnect him. We have the line from Mr. Jain reconnected. Sir, you may please go ahead.
Yeah. So what I was saying is the challenge when a lockdown like situation hits you. What we have to see is like a lockdown which hit us in first quarter, where when the dealers are closed, many of the customers whose exports are not very high, they get more hit. So our plants, which are more dependent on such customers, get hit much more. So that is a challenge which happens, and that's why what I was saying is we are trying to make our plants more multi-product, so that we can lower the break-even points, and of course doing everything possible to improve efficiencies, you know, and also doing outsourcing to our vendor base, so the risks are less, the capex is less. So this has been a continuous effort and focus, you know, last 10 years. So I think that's the only way forward.
So would we right to understand, sir, that we don't know the timelines, obviously, when things will get to normal, but eventually, at least the quarterly run rate should be 20 to 30% more than what we saw in first quarter. Maybe not in immediate quarters, but eventually. Is that right understanding?
Yeah, for sure. See, even sitting now, I mean, I'm very optimistic about September and the second half of this financial year, because see, if in a COVID time, one can have a pent-up demand. I agree, FY20 was not a good year for the automotive industry. I mean, I'm a firm believer that this market is 24-25 million, two-wheelers, for sure. And even in a COVID year last year, I think we closed at 18.2 million, I think, two-wheelers in India. With the first quarter practically, you know, lost last year. So I'm sure the demand will come back. It's a question of time. It's a sentiment issue. When COVID hits you, the way the COVID hit us, COVID 2 was like 4 times the impact of COVID 1. So of course this does affect people, you know, and I would say the rural sector was more hit, what I'm told. So I think once the sentiment improves, I'm sure to come back, and I'm very confident of September and the second half of this year. And I'm very optimistic about it.
Sure, sir. So my second question would be on the European operations. Similar question to what you answered for the Indian operations. In Europe, we have almost entirely casting. So how much of it would be engine agnostic and how much would be engine dependent in Europe?
Is Massimo there? Massimo?
So please unmute your line and speak. You're not audible.
Yeah, might be is on mute. Well, I can just answer that question if he's not there. That what I know is today our parts are 40% for engine in overseas, 50% is in transmission, which is of course EV agnostic, and even body parts and others, so which is also EV agnostic. So 40% are engine. That I know, but I think the details, I think Massimo is better to answer that.
I'm here. Can you repeat the question, please? I'm sorry.
Sure, Massimo. My question was that for the European business, how much of the business would be dependent on engines and how much would be agnostic of the drivetrain?
Okay, in this moment the percentage of engine is more or less 40%, 38.9%. And please consider that in this moment a lot of this part is for engine, but for hybrid application. And so the problem for the future is only to understand which will be the transition to the electric. Because in the first quarter of 2021, for sure, the electric vehicle, completely electric, reached 7.5%. If you consider the 100% of range of products, 40% continues to be gasoline, 20% diesel, and 23% the difference is are the hybrid technology. And so in this moment, our engine technology is dedicated to the hybrid vehicle. Because if you consider the most important product that we are using for the Volkswagen Group and also for Daimler, in this moment they are assembling this engine with hybrid technology. But let me say, in this moment it's very difficult in the European market. All the cars that we are registering are hybrid. It is the reality because the sentiment of the people is completely in this direction. So I don't believe that we can have problems to substitute this component in the next 5 or 6 years with the transmission or rotator component for electrical vehicles.
Sure. Massimo, and if I may just request you for the normal European revenues, EBITDA and PAT in euro terms for this quarter.
So, frankly speaking, I believe that in this quarter, 18.2% is a very good EBITDA, even if the market situation is not so good. And as I told you before, if I offset the increase of raw material, that in my opinion in this moment is absolutely motivated, the EBITDA should have been 19%. In my opinion, we can continue to maintain this level of EBITDA also because our target is, if the market continues to be not aligned compared to the past, is to compensate this reduction of volume with efficiency and other activity in order to maintain the profitability.
Sure. So can you please share, if possible, in euro terms, what's the revenue, EBITDA and PAT? Is it possible to share in euro terms?
Sorry, in euro terms?
Yeah, in euro terms, what's the revenue, EBITDA and PAT this quarter?
Yes, 62.3 million turnover, 11.3 million EBITDA, and 4.7 million net profit. And so it means 18.2% of EBITDA and 7.6% of net result.
Sure. Thank you so much, sir, for taking my question. That's all from my side. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
In the interest of time, participants are requested to limit their questions to 2 per participant. Time permitting, you may come back in the queue for a follow-up. The next question is from the line of Priya Ranjan from HDFC Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. I have two questions. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so I have two questions. One is on your price realization in domestic and export due to the price hikes. I mean, the aluminum prices going up, and how much is under recovered yet? And that is first. And second is on the just wanted to understand a little bit on the order book. So suppose, can you split your order books in, say, motorcycle and scooter terms? So because, I mean, if suppose the scooter is going to be flat or I mean, the ICE scooter is going to be flat or declining, then how much impact we might have in our existing order book?
Are you talking about the orders won or the request for quotes?
No, I'm orders already won, and which should be under production already. So, but if the volume gets lost because of the electrification in scooters, then those orders cannot be realized.
Yeah, so I would like to say that the 513.8 million order we have won quarter one, if you are referring to that, has largely been for castings. And these are largely machine castings. That's why I mentioned Hyundai and Tata Motors and Mahindra, in this. And it's fully machine castings, And on the proprietary front, I think I would say the first quarter was largely casting. Of course, there were some breaks. Basically, it was all new business. I'm happy to tell you there was no replacement in the first quarter. And this included Mahindra casting for tractors also. That's adjacency. So was that your question?
No. My question was, say, on two-wheeler order book, say, if I have an order book, say, suppose of, say, 10,000 crore or 5,000 crore, or any number I'm just highlighting, so any number you can throw. Out of this 5,000 accumulated order book, how much will be coming from scooter side, which is yet to be realized? Because,
See, I don't know the breakup, but I can tell you that scooter side will be a smaller, will be a much smaller factor, because scooters are mainly, I would say, for HMSI. HMSI, the major business we won was for the scooter front fork and shocker, with the highest share of business. So our Sanand and Kolar plants already have these orders. So whatever new orders are coming for brakes or for clutches or for castings, these will be, I think, so as far as HMSI is concerned, that will be a scooter, but that will be the total pie. I cannot tell you any percent. It will be wrong to even take a guess right now, because I don't have the breakup right now of the orders already won in the past, I would say, 2 years. I don't have that status now. I've been always saying what we have won. But I would say largely it has been for motorcycles, and it has been for the four-wheeler casting space, fully machined,
Okay, understood. Just can you throw some light on the price realization gain in the quarter, and how much is under recovered yet in terms of aluminum price hikes?
Mr. Ray, would you like to take that question? But I would only like to say that in this quarter, if I do not take the PSI incentive, the RMC increase was about 0.6%, just to give you an idea. This was basically due to increase in prices of aluminum alloy and various types of, on various types of steel also. So aluminum alloy, for example, there was an increase of almost 13%. And even the steel prices went by more than 8%, So, and this trend is continuing. So definitely you will see that the RMC percentage to sales is going up. So that also, mathematically is affecting our, this EBITDA margin percentage, So out of this, I would say that most of the realizations have happened. You know that there's a 1 quarter lag normally that you are aware of. So apart from that lag, it's a continuous process. But I agree with you that when the prices are on the increase, that quarter lag does affect us, So, some customers, if there's an increase in the first quarter, will get it from effective first quarter of next quarter, first of next quarter. So, for example, April to June we'll get from 1st July. 1st July to 30th September we'll get 1st October. So, with some customers it's like that. With some customers they give you for that quarter, like Bajaj, for example.
Okay, so you are saying
See, one thing which is good, which has happened from this quarter onwards is there are no spot increases which I had mentioned in quarter 3, quarter 4, because those increases in quarter 3 and quarter 4 took us by complete surprise, and the suppliers were just dictating terms to us, So we had to give spot increases, and we couldn't afford to wait for a settlement after 3 months, from the OEMs. That is not happening. So that is a positive part. But the negative part is that the increases are continuing to happen in the alloy and steel. So the RMC percentage sales will continue to grow till some kind of a, I would say, some normalization takes place. But I don't see it taking place, to be honest. So that is the downside, that the percentage to sale, RMC percentage sales will keep increasing.
But that will benefit you in the top line. So, absolute EBITDA should not matter much.
Yeah, but well, if you don't mind seeing a slightly lower EBITDA margin percentage, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, fine with lower EBITDA margin, higher growth. It's eventually compensate everything.
Okay, great. It's good to hear that.
Thank you. And any under recovery you can talk about?
No, I can't think of any under recovery because there are no spot increases as such.
Okay, thank you. That's all from me.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Aditya Jhawar from Investec Capital. Please go ahead.
Thanks for the opportunity. I have 2 questions, one for Anurang and one for Mr. Kehani. Anurang, if you can, help us understand that, we have been talking about adding couple of product lines organically and inorganically.
Yes.
So, what is the status on that? And it would be great if you can share some timelines on that.
See, the timeline I said is that we want to make, at least though we are engaged with almost, if you are saying actively, at least 4 projects. Okay, and I can't tell you what they are, but a timeline is of, this financial year, for sure, and we should do at least 1 or 2, I think, Okay, I've said 1, I'll keep it to 1 at least. And these, like I said, are based on market size and growth potential. I've told you these are technology products with barriers to entry. The profitability ROC is definitely there, less number of players, and these are EV agnostic. So I mentioned these points last time, so that still remains. Only I can tell you that, okay, I will tell you in the next call, okay? Okay.
One question for Mr. Kehani. Sir, if you can help us understand that what would be the aggregate value of casting components supplied to Bajaj Chetak versus that supplied to Honda Activa?
Well, I don't have that number because right now, Bajaj is in scooters only in EVs, and whereas in Activa it is a normal ICE engine. But I can tell you that we are on just.
No, but I can share that with you later. I don't have the figures now, but it will be quite similar. The castings, suspension, and brakes will be quite similar. Of course, there won't be a CVT in that for sure, but I can share that with you.
But Aditya, you asked only for casting, isn't it? We can get back to you on this.
No, you are talking about only casting, or you're talking about?
He was asking only casting.
Okay, because suspension and because suspension and brakes will be similar.
Yeah, suspension and brakes is almost similar because the configurations of the product are similar, but casting configuration changes and some part of the engine components are not there.
I think overall the value will be higher, Aditya, because I'm not supplying, scooter brakes to HMSI. Because while the Activa has a brake system, but while the Chetak has a brake system.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll give you a call separate.
Sure.
Fair enough. And just last final question, if I can squeeze in. In electric 2-wheelers, we are supplying these products like suspension, braking, casting to Bajaj Chetak. And what about products that we are talking to TVS specifically and other players? What I understand, they are still in discussion stage.
No, see, we are engaged with all these guys, all. And when we win the orders, we will tell you.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay, that's it from my side. All the best.
Thank you. Thank you, Aditya.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Harsha from Marcellus. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. So in FY21, the amount of debtors have gone up compared to FY20, and this is mainly because of the standalone entity. So two questions. So why the increase, and where do we stand now?
I would request Mr. Ray to answer this.
Your question pertains to March 21. It doesn't pertain to quarter, right?
Yeah, March 21. Yeah.
Yeah, because of
also June 21 number. Where would we stand now?
No, June 21 we don't disclose balance sheet, so you'll have to wait till September. Now, as far as March is concerned, there was extremely high sales in March 21 as compared to March 20. So our debtors normally, because debtors have to be calculated not on net sales with taxes and duties. So our credit period on an average varies between 40 to 45 days on an average. So from that perspective, it is right. It's basically the skewness of sales compared to previous year, which is probably leading to distortion in your ratio calculation.
Okay. And second question is to sir, you have mentioned the few value-added products at the beginning of the call. What would be the revenue contribution from those 7-8 products and the difference in margins in those products?
Sorry, which 7-8 products?
So basically machine castings, paper-based forks, those types of things.
That's a very difficult question to answer because, some we have started, some we will be starting. Like, for example, paper clutch assemblies, a lot of, except for the 100cc or I think the 110cc, we are finding 125cc upwards getting into paper. Inverted front forks, of course, all value add, that business is growing. The brake business, big value add, growing, we are doubling both disc as well as disc brake assembly business. Fully machine castings, I would say, we are already, if you take semi-finished, we are already at 75%, but if fully finished, we may be at about 1/3, but by next year our target is to reach, at least 75% full machined. All new orders we are taking are fully machined castings. So I can't put a figure to it, I just can't put a figure right now. But this is something I think it will be a good idea to keep a track and to compute it, So that we can do for the future.
Okay. And difference in margins in these value-added products versus
margins are of course better. Of course, you do have capex, but the margins are better. You go to value add. When I talk about the product mix, actually I would not say value add. It's the product mix which is changing. So machine castings is value add. You're right, but for others it's more of a product mix change.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ronak Sarda from Systematic Shares.
क्या कॉल ना होल्ड वर ठेवला आहे कृपया
On another call, we'll move to the next question, which is the last in queue from Aditya Makharia from HDFC. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir. Just on the inorganic opportunity, I didn't get what you said that you are looking to acquire something which gives you EV capabilities, or just your thought process on the.
Yeah, so it is both. Some are organic with collaborations, with the foreign collaboration, and some are acquisitions. Acquisitions both in India as well as overseas. Overseas is only acquisition.
Okay. So are you actively talking, or is just like a statement you mentioned which could happen over the next 1-2 years?
Actively. It's actively.
Okay. And just last question, your earlier acquisitions have been fairly small. They've given you a lot of capability, be it the Italian companies you acquired, but the turnover was relatively limited. So I guess that is the thought process you're moving ahead with, right?
Yes, I mean that is a thought process, because see, like what I said is, overseas we have to be very, very careful about the people, because with uncertainties in business and the way we have seen volume fluctuations from 2007, we have to be very careful because people can become your biggest cost and liability for the future. So in the past in Europe, we always took companies with good management and space and put our greenfield new business opportunities in this and improve the EBITDA margins, from 7 to 8, and what the EBITDA margins are now, 18%. So the question is, that was the strategy. But going for new listing also, the products, we will have to look at the market size and the growth potential for sure. These should be technology products with barriers to entry. It means very few players there also. And the margin should be good, less number of players, and it should be EV agnostic. So may not be supplying. EV agnostic means that products can go into a EV vehicle also.
Into either, yeah, right. Got it. And you won't, last question, there's no leverage which you will take on the balance sheet, which you've never taken so far. So that's just from a capital allocation point of view.
As of the line of sight we have, that will not happen.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was the last question in queue. I now hand the conference over to the management for their closing comments.
No, I don't have any closing comments. I mean, my opening remarks, I think, were what I wanted to inform all the investors. And I just want to say that we'll keep doing our best, in this very uncertain times. So we'll continue to focus on profitable growth and higher than industry growth. So I'd just like to say that, both in India as well as overseas.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Axis Capital, that concludes this conference call for today. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.